This week we are discussing the next 4 chapters of Sloane Crosley's book, I Was Told There'd Be Cake, from One Night Bounce to the Height of Luxury. So diving right in, I thought that Sloane Crosley's journey to discovering what sex was in the One Night Bounce chapter was particularly funny. And I think a lot of us who grow up perhaps a bit sheltered go through a similar process of trying to figure out what sex is exactly. In that chapter she mentioned the show Twin Peaks, which I believe was a little bit before my time. I think I was only about 2 when it aired, so the references there were a little bit lost on me. But there was one particularly funny dialogue exchange between Sloane Crosley and her mother on page 104. So if everyone jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you do it too? Don't be silly, she laughed. Of course I would, honey. There'd be no one left on the planet. It would be a very lonely place. And I think that sort of sums up Sloane Crosley's mom. One thing that did bug me about this chapter was on page 105 when Sloane Crosley suggested people would be, quote, compelled to spit words like floozy into my face, and they would have every right. And then later on, she mentions at some point in that chapter not wanting to seem like a slut. And I wrote down that I'm pretty sure this book was written before everyone was really gung-ho about anti-slut shaming, but that quote kind of made this assumption that you can be too old to sleep with whoever you want and still not be judged. And I just thought that was a little bit outdated and archaic. And I wasn't really offended by that line, but I think it also came off a little bit more judgmental than maybe Sloane Crosley intended, and I just don't think it was necessary. And it seemed a little bit out of character for her. But moving past that, my favorite chapter was probably Sign Language for Infidels, because I found it to be very humorously honest. So a couple lines that I liked. First on page 116. I am not globally conscious by nature and find people who publicly strive to make the world a better place to be moderately annoying. I appreciated that. And then on page 130, life starts out with everyone clapping when you take a poo and goes downhill from there. Very true. I also really liked how that chapter was sort of summarized at the end with Sloane Crosley explaining how this one particular butterfly chooses to be poisonous by eating certain poisonous things, sort of relating it to us being able to choose to be poisonous in different ways. But of course, I think she was definitely over-romanticizing the idea of the butterfly having the choice to eat these poisonous things, because I would argue it's probably biologically instinctual to the butterfly at this point. The wedding chapter was just so completely ridiculous that it was very entertaining, and there was a Gem and the Holograms reference, so I was very happy with that. And those chapters were a little bit longer, but even the Height of Luxury chapter, although it was short, I thought it did a really great job capturing this very specific moment in time. And it kind of made you think about how your parents had these totally other lives before you were born. Next week we will be discussing the last 3 chapters of the book, and it's a really short section, so it should not be giving you any trouble. This week, feel free to continue telling me what you are enjoying or perhaps disliking about the book, and you can also let me know what your favorite chapter is so far. Also, I would be interested to know your thoughts as well on that One Night Bounce chapter. So read up, and I will see you guys Wednesday.